I always see these threads where people from the West make fools out of themselves by projecting their oppression obsession onto women from other countries, and I can't resist the urge to talk about it even if I'm likely to make a fool out of myself. I'm no religious scholar, but it's obvious that there are gradients in belief and branches in ideology, as in this top comment here, stating that the person is Muslim, and they're claiming that their teachings don't mandate any headdress, but then they immediately say that this is debatable. Keep in mind, the problem isn't really a headdress, but Reddit disagrees. From a pragmatic viewpoint, one can argue that it allows criminals to hide their identity, even down to their gender, which poses an exceptional risk for terrorism, especially from a religion rather infamous for it. Someone could strap 300 pounds of explosives onto themselves and pretend to be a big fat ginormous Muslim woman in a burqa. Okay, that makes sense, although it does open up endless questions as to what religious traditions the government is allowed to persecute, and if the government is not ruthless in their insistence, then any abolition of a tradition will be repealed by bleeding hearts, claiming the fear of terrorism, in this case Islamophobic, is inhumane. Practicality aside, most of the discussion on Reddit tends to devolve into mewling about sexism. No surprise there, as Reddit has leaned so far to the left that they are flat against the ground, and they are absolutely certain that females would never ever 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 wear a hijab, a burqa, a niqab, or whatever else unless a man forced them to. While I distinguish their argument as separate from common sense, I still have to give credence to their words, but not without the caveat that they say it out of sexist bias. While they scream that anything and everything a female is disallowed to do is because of misogyny and the patriarchy and oppression and so forth, religions really do oppress people, and while some females really are oppressed in regards to what they wear, many would actually choose to wear it. The problem here being that there's no way to know if it's oppression, as some of these females do wear it willingly. Another problem is that, despite there being no way to know this, people have a bad habit of projecting. Even if a female claims they are wearing it willingly, Westerners will insist that it's due to religious brainwashing by the patriarchy. Westerners will begin their seemingly holy mission, ironic I'd say, to save others from the oppression of their own religion. They will insist themselves upon others, insist that no female would choose to wear it. They'll insist that these Muslim females must be oppressed. Their insistence will inevitably convince some of the Muslim females that they are indeed oppressed, even though up until that point the Muslims had not thought so. We've seen this problem countless times in the West. The war on women, Me Too, Bear vs. Man are just some recent examples. Women who only found that they had a problem when a Karen convinced them that ghosts were real. Women who went from a normal life to claiming they were a slave within the span of a year, notably year 2024 AD. This Western whispering could upend Islamic ideology just as it has some Christian and Judaic beliefs. And then what happens? See, it doesn't even have to be true. Merely the suggestion of it was enough to cause corporations and public figures to capitulate and apologize, truly embodying the cartoonish notion that the customer is always right. Giving credibility to every accusation of sexism has resulted in many things, one of which being the ultra-rapid hypersexualization of women. It's now normal for women to wear 3 band-aids and twerk in front of children, both in real life and on allegedly safe-for-work websites. With the result of that being children copying them. Yet, if you question the moral structure of all of this, you're called a misogynist and told that it's your fault for looking. Which I guess means that there is a problem. The West thinks the problem is men, but I suspect the problem is that this isn't the kind of behavior the Muslims will tolerate. I suspect the girls can do whatever they want and you're evil for disagreeing mindset won't be adapted in a one-to-one format by any pseudo-Islam birthed by westernization. I don't know much about Islam, but it appears to be the most feral of the big religions, the least tamed by capitalism and corpocracy. I cannot fathom a deeply religious culture that thinks females showing their hair is slutty, coexisting peacefully without any change in a country that has gone from Marilyn Monroe to Britney Spears to Taylor Swift as the most popular, most iconic role models of females. Whether it's America, the UK, China, Russia, or Japan, we glorify corpo puppet strippers performing erotic dances and singing songs about sex on stage in front of hundreds of millions of children. I keep saying the problem. Anyone who thinks a headdress is the problem is indeed an idiot, and all argument about whether or not the Quran specifically mandates head coverings is lethally short-sighted. This isn't about pedantry regarding hats and scripture. Religions have branching beliefs which fly in the face of their God all the time. Getting a sect of Muslims to agree with moving one aspect does not mean you've changed the entirety of their beliefs. If you would impress yourself upon a foreign religion because of your imagining them as oppressed, then why don't you imagine how they will act in regards to you, to how you dress? Do you think a deeply reserved religion is going to accept you being a galactic Omega-tier thermonuclear weapons-grade whore? Do you think a freshly integrated religion is going to backseat the words of their god as you indoctrinate their children to wear booty shorts, microskirts, crop tops, spandex pants, and bikinis? As you teach their kids that OnlyFans is actually a legitimate and honorable profession? If so, then you're so cemented in your misandristic ideology, believing that women can do, say, and wear whatever they want, whenever they want, wherever they want, and then use oppression as a catch-all excuse to validate their deeds, that you can't even comprehend another slightly more significant wardrobe malfunction might come into play regarding religion besides a hat. I mean, look at this thread. Read these comments. Count how many people say women should be able to wear whatever they want. They mean it. They really mean exactly that. They don't even see nearly naked women, children even, walking around in public parks as a possible problem here. You don't even have to leave YouTube to see the ever-sized problem the capitalist corpocratic world presents to conservative religious beliefs. I get ads of scantily clad AI women on YouTube all the time without even watching relevant content. Without such cookies or viewing history, the front page of YouTube is filled with nudity because guess what? Sex sells. But here's the thing. Religion is founded in morals, not money. Isn't this going to cause a problem? The clothing situation should go without saying, and so should this. If a religion moves to a country where it does not already exist, then it will without question result in the formation of an enclave, altering the pre-existing ecosystem of a society in order to make room for a new one growing within the host. A country with a healthy society will be fractured, and one that already had vulnerabilities will be exploited and more easily taken over by the religion. Again, that's not an Islam thing, it's just the nature of religion. Countries that already have a fundamentalist religious group ingrained in its society and likely its government gain nothing but unrest by Japanese-style lesbian kissing another religion. Once it grows big enough, well, if you haven't seen Alien, you're wasting your time listening to me ramble. Do yourself a service and go watch the movie first. Instead of worrying about how Islam is going to change for the West, which it will to some degree, people should be more concerned with how Islam is going to change the West. As the chest burster grows larger, you know exactly what's going to happen. It's a religion, after all. It's not like it's a family of immigrants, expected, willing, and capable of assimilation. Religions are known, I guess, for being somewhat malleable, but only really on the edges. And even then, they don't change to adapt to other things. They absorb those things and twist them to be more fitting for the religion. Over an immense amount of time, this sort of does change the religion, as with Christianity and Judaism becoming more accepting of LGBTQ, but in the short term, in our lifespan, that kind of stuff isn't going to unfold. I think, in the end, it's impractical to have more than one major religion in a country. You can see the problem this causes in smaller nations. Eventually, the same will happen in larger ones like the USA and Canada. The murmurs of turmoil and unrest have already started. We already have people marching down the streets with agendas. New York recently had people cheering for Hamas. Yes, that one, the designated terrorist organization.
For a chant in support of Hamas.
It hurts. It really does. It really does. Because they hate us.
They should not come to specifically Jewish neighborhoods to cause more trouble, because once it's hate words, it becomes violent.
You might say they're the vocal minority, but only for now. They did that first guy dirty in the interview, but you can hear the second guy say they shouldn't have come to a specifically Jewish neighborhood looking to start hate wars. But that is a narrative that only works in a gargantuan country, and even then, only until the population grows. Then, just like in smaller countries, people will be fighting in the streets over their gods. As he said, a specifically Jewish neighborhood. In other words, an enclave where certain mindsets thrive. And when that mindset is not totally nationalistic, it inevitably causes a problem. Here, we have the problem of religious wars. These exact religions have endured for thousands of years through anything but peace and quiet, and they have not been subjected yet to the incessant waves of Hollywood eroding their foundations like Christianity has. they still have their strongholds in the Middle East affirming their religion, where Christianity has what's left of Europe and, I guess, Russia. The question is, will it change? Could it be tamed like Christianity? And if it can be, what will that mean? Women wearing micro bikinis and hijabs? Okay, obviously that already exists, but I don't mean as a fetish, rather as something that's been normalized. Will Muslims walking around in booty shorts and crop tops become normal? See, unlike Christianity, which was already beaten into submission over a long period of time, Islam is inserting itself face first into yeehaw capitalism land, where women don't wear clothes and men are evil by birthright. It's sort of kind of the ass backward opposite of their religion, which, yes, is just like Christianity, but like I said, that changed. I don't know if it's possible for Islam in this era. Fish didn't just walk on the land. Evolution takes time, and I feel like the difference between the West's corpocracy and Islam is so stark that the social aspects won't be so easily adapted. People, they point to old pictures of the Middle East and oh, look at that architecture, look at these people wearing jeans and t-shirts and driving cars, and look at the West now. You have some dying cities that look like those old pictures and old videos of the Middle East, but it doesn't really look the same now, the West. Would Islam really be okay with the modern West, with how people dress, how they act, all of our social aspects? I'm unsure about that. Well, it's not like there's some magical method to stop a religion from spreading, and honestly, I just wanted an excuse to remark at the level of incompetence that woke Redditors have reached for thinking the problem is misogynistic veils, because Westerners try to make everything about misogyny. Anyway, I can't even predict how my own outlook on this will change, let alone Western countries or religions. With the corpocracy being too powerful for a religion to fight against, all that exists are questions. How would Islam change in order to fit in with the corpocratic capitalist ideals of the West? What kind of neo-Islam would spring forth, and what change would that bring to the West? Maybe it'll be good. Who knows? Maybe Islam in the West will unexpectedly be some sort of bizarre corrective force. Anyway, thanks for watching.
Take care now. Bye-bye then.